welcome guys to anyone that's tuned in to watch my 4 pillars of transformation. Okay, this is something that I've wanted to talk about for a little while. It's something that I've built as an ethos into my business. It's something that I've used on myself, and also all of my clients will start to benefit from some of this stuff as well as they go through my Reignite program. What I wanted to do is actually just start to unpick it so that anyone here can take advantage of it. They can actually understand the information, they can understand the what, and they can also understand the how. How does it actually integrate into your life so that you can take some demonstrable value from it? So I've actually pulled together a bit of a story, a bit of like some information. Let's chat through some of this. 4 pillars of transformation. Let's talk a little bit about the background and ethos of it. So this is from numerous years in different settings in the trenches as, first of all, like a personal trainer, then working in corporate, up to the like a head of level in a number of large multinational corporations. It's born out of a desire to get a solution for people that are operating either as executives or entrepreneurs at a certain level. What I noticed was that certain fitness solutions weren't working for these types of people, because they tend to be operating in high stress and poor time environments. And I started to realize, like, is health and fitness like even the problem? Start looking into things like just asking questions like, what is performance, right? And we'll talk about like what my view of what performance is in a little bit. It's like, what is performance and how is that different from what the fitness industry just tells you to focus on, which is just diet and exercise? So this is like some of the background to the 4 pillars of transformation. But what is the 4 pillars of transformation? Well, it's a unique methodology to get proven results. And by proven, I mean probably taken between 50 and 60 people through this methodology now and get results with 8, possibly 9, at least 8 out of 10 people, okay? And these are all people that are operating either in 6, 7, sometimes 8-figure businesses, or they are actually working in large corporations, have quite senior jobs, whether it be head of, whether it be director, even some managing directors, right? So the 4 pillars of transformation, number 1 is about exercise and movement. We know that you need to be exercising and moving. The body was born to move, right? It wasn't designed to sit still. There's a number of reasons for that. It actually energizes you by moving. You can't get rid of waste in the body if you don't move. And again, you don't burn calories if you don't move. So we know that there has to be an exercise and movement element to transformation. There's also a second element, which is nutrition and energy, right? And this is about getting the right nutrition from an aesthetics point of view, getting the right nutrition from a health point of view, and then energizing both the mind and the body as well, right? So there's 2 elements there. And this, to like a lesser extent, is what you'll get. Like, let's say you go and see like you're just looking at like improving health and fitness. This is what a lot of the fitness industry focuses on, just 1 and 2. Now, really, and this is like 5, 6 years ago, I was sat in a gym and I was wondering, like, had the same program that a couple of my clients were going through. Some were getting results and some weren't. Same program, same sorts of jobs, same sorts of stresses. It's like, why do some people get results and why do others not? And it led me into looking at psychology in a bit more detail. It led me into asking certain questions around lifestyle factors and looking at the art of behavior change. And something that I did a couple of years ago now is actually studied for just over a year to become a behavioral change coach. So I can help people with negative habits or habits that they want to work on and change those behaviors through their psychology. The fourth one then, and this really is the crux that allows everything else to work or not work and fall over, right? And this is an inspirational mindset. All right. Now, the reason I say inspirational mindset is because mindset is defined as the cognitive ability to drive behavior, cognitive thought behind behavior, rather. Inspiration means it comes from within, right? Rather than needing willpower and motivation, which comes from outside. So it's developing that inspirational mindset so that you're inspired to take action, and you've conditioned yourself, you've conditioned your mind into that way of thinking, that modus operandi. All right. So what's the first pillar of transformation? Exercise and movement, right? And as I said in the preamble for this, there's some certain principles that I tend to use that actually underpin each of the pillars of transformation. So the principle that I work with my clients that underpins exercise and movement is this principle of anytime, anywhere. Okay. Now, and this is particularly prevalent for people that maybe travel, or, you know, like the current climate, a lot of people haven't been able to get to gyms. If you're in that sort of cohort, you haven't been able to get to a gym, or you travel with business, with work, you need a solution that will help you exercise and move with or without a gym. You need something with and without equipment. You need something that works if you've got 10 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, whatever it is. You need a diverse solution that is going to allow you to exercise and move. It can't be that I haven't got enough time, I can't fit in my 45 minutes of cardio, so I'm just not going to do anything. That can't be the answer. We have to have different solutions based on how much time you've got available, how much equipment you've got available, how much time you've got available. So we know that exercise increases your energy level, and for guys it increases testosterone. It also decreases stress. So a 15 minutes of high intensity interval training, for example, will decrease stress by about 30% and increase testosterone by about 18%. Significant change, okay, just from 15 minutes. And it's like, what happens off the back of that? Well, if you're less stressed, you make better informed decisions, you make quicker decisions. With higher amounts of testosterone, you make bolder decisions. So you take that into business or relationships, stuff starts to happen more and better, right? The types of training that you've got are resistance training, high intensity interval training, what we call low intensity steady state training, body weights, or if you're an athlete, it might be sport specific. Okay. And I go through like some of the merits of like each of these, like in due course, but these are the tools that you've got in your arsenal, right? Now, exercise and movement is not, I've got to stress this, right? You can't out-train a poor diet. It's not a substitute for poor nutrition. It's designed to give you more energy, it's designed to reduce stress, and it's designed as a secondary lever to help with getting you towards your goals, whether that's muscle building or weight loss. Those are the two primary ones that most people will kind of look for, right? But it is not the primary lever when it comes to weight loss. And actually, it's not even the primary lever when it comes to weight gain, muscle building, right? The second principle then, all right? So this is nutrition and energy, or the second pillar rather, this is nutrition and energy. Now, the principle that underpins this pillar is what I call conscious consistency. I have lost count of how many clients, past, present, and prospective, that I've talked to about them going, or do I need to go on a diet? The answer is, for me, no. Diets, and the reason why I don't believe in diets is because by their very nature, it means a change to the way in which you eat, and then a return to normal after you finish the diet, after you come off it. Now, what happens after the return to normal is that people start to eat according to the way that got them in the bad place that they're in the first place. So why would you want to go on a diet, right? Unless it's to maybe get in shape for a wedding, knowing that you're going to return to normal afterwards and probably put on some additional pounds. So conscious consistency is my answer to diets. It means a lifestyle change, a gradual lifestyle change that is aligned to two goals. A, becoming slightly healthier, right? So giving you more energy, helping you with goals such as longevity, for example, but also understanding that what we want to do for people that want to lose weight, for example, is much more aligned to calorie control and sort of certain equations, balancing out certain calorie equations, than it necessarily is eating healthy, right? You can eat a lot of healthy, in inverted commas, foods, but still gain weight if you aren't eating specific to your weight loss goals in a controlled calorie deficit. So when you're trying to lose weight and trying to lose fat in particular, what we would want to do is we'd want to work out a couple of things. We'd want to work out what's your calorie deficit goal, okay? And then we would basically work out, first of all, your total daily energy expenditure, and then we put a deficit on that. And that deficit can be anywhere from 5 up to 25%. Right, more than 25% generally makes it very difficult. You start to eat into, you start to break down muscle, and it's not something that's sustainable from like an emotional perspective. Most people have found. Okay, if you're wanting to build muscle, you generally want to eat in a calorie, or you have to eat in a calorie surplus. Okay, and you want to be eating about 10% over your total daily energy expenditure. Any more than that, and what will happen is you'll start to put on unwanted amounts of body fat, right? Unless the goal is to bulk up and put on some body fat and muscle, then you can start to eat more than this. But usually, if you just want to, this is for guys specifically, if you just want to put on muscle, 10% calorie surplus over your total daily energy expenditure is what you want to eat. But look, when it comes to nutrition, when it comes to energy, there are some other things that you need to look at as well, other things that you need to consider. So we tend to think that nutrition or energy is just about diet, right? We get it all from food. There are other things that you want to consider. Hydration being one of them, incredibly important. And actually, I worked with a health coach a few years back, and I quite often used to take my clients to go and get tested there. You would see that the body would use different fuel sources, you know, fats or carbohydrates, depending on how hydrated it was. So if your goal is to burn more fat and you want to use fat as the primary fuel, as opposed to carbohydrates that's stored, you know, as glycogen in the muscles and the liver, you want to be exercising with good hydration. As soon as you start to decrease the amount of hydration by 2%, you start to switch to a different fuel source, which is training a different energy system. So this is why you need to be intelligent with not only your training, but also your nutrition and hydration as well. You can start to also increase your energy by getting better exposure to sunlight. Now, in the winter months, people that are in the UK spend about 12 minutes outdoors, 12 minutes, 1, 2, okay? And most of us would be vitamin D deficient, okay? When our body's exposed to sunlight, we tend to create vitamin D. Most of us in the UK don't get enough of it. So it's like, if we don't get enough of it, what are you doing to ensure that you actually protect against that? How are you supplementing, right? So this is where supplementation comes in, to ensure that the right systems in the body create and are the most efficient, right? Create the amounts of energy that they need to. So the key takeaway from here is, it's not about diets, it's about conscious consistency. And don't just think about food when it comes to energizing. Think hydration, think sunlight, think supplementation as well. Right, we're going a little bit deeper now, okay? We're moving now into the lifestyle factors and behavior changes. And for this pillar, the key principle is the principle of Kaizen, okay? Anyone that's got a business background has probably heard this word before. Probably understands that it comes from a Japanese manufacturer, Japanese automotive manufacturer. And it basically means incremental improvements. How do we, rather than transform wholesale, how do we incrementally get better over time? Okay. So again, when people come on to Reignite and they look at transforming or changing their performance, trying to take a step level up, we don't say, here's a list of things, everything all at once, because that's overwhelming, right? When you try and change something, it can be very hard and require quite a lot of willpower that you have to rely on at first, particularly if you haven't built out a vision and you're not conscious of your values or why something is important. It can require a lot of willpower. So in order for it to stick and become habitual, you need to employ the principle of Kaizen, which is focusing on just 2 to 3 things each week, okay? And that means those 2 to 3 things need to be bespoke based on your lifestyle. What are the things that you want to address? What are the bad habits that you want to address that are holding you back? Which behaviors are no longer serving you? This is something, the second point here is something that a lot of people waste a lot of energy on, right? They focus outside of their locus of control. So they focus on things that they can't control and worry about them, have emotional reactions to them, rather than focusing on the things that they can control and putting in place scenarios or contingency plans for them. So a couple of clients I was talking to today, we were working out, okay, when you go to a social event, how are you going to make sure that you can still have fun, still drink, still eat, but actually when you step on the scales on Monday morning, the weight's gone down, right? We're planning for this scenario and working out in the rest of the week what needs to happen so that you can achieve that. We're focusing on the things that this person can control, and we're ignoring the things that he or she can't control, right? And this is why you need to have the structures and support systems in place to plan for these things and to also deal with the emotions that come up off the back of them. So if you're trying to change something, quite often it's going to elicit an emotional response. And if you don't have a coach, a friend, some sort of structure that can help you with it, and you're not well equipped to deal with those emotions, you're going to fall off the bandwagon, right? And that's when people kick things into touch, goals slide, things go into next week. You end up stuck in a rut when it happens consistently. So the key takeaway here is Kaizen is a much better way to look at transformation, just focusing on 2 to 3 things each week that over time, over 3 or 6 month period, add up to massive changes. Look, pillar number 4, mindset. The principle for this is inspirational mindset. I'm going to talk a little bit about motivation versus inspiration. Motivation, as I said, it comes from an external source, an external stimulus. And to be motivated to do something, you have to have that external stimulus. As soon as that's removed, motivation can wane, motivation can lack, willpower evaporates. The alternative to that is inspiration, right? It's where you understand what you value, you have a clear vision, and you've repeatedly conditioned your mindset so that you're conscious of both of those things and how any given action actually supports or detracts from them. Mindset really, as I said at the beginning, is the cognitive thought that drives behaviors. Okay, that's all it is. You'll hear umpteenth coaches or people that claim that they're coaches talking about mindset. When they say the term mindset, this is what they mean. Cognitive thought that drives behavior, okay? The biggest shaper of mindset, and this is my opinion, right? So other people might have different opinions on this, but the biggest shaper of mindset, in my opinion, is self-image, which is how you view yourself. People will always do or take actions that are in line with their self-image, and they will always not do things that take themselves away from their self-image. So the question then is, okay, if we want to change our mindset, we need to change our self-image. How do we change our self-image? Well, there's a simple formula for self-image, and it's trust times authority times repetition. So when you trust or believe in something, and it comes from an authoritative place, either you as a position of power and authority, or maybe an influential individual, right? Maybe like a coach or a friend or a mentor, and you repeatedly do something over time, neurons that fire together in the brain tend to wire together. And when they wire together, they form patterns, right? And as those patterns, they become programs. And those programs of the mind shift your self-image over time. The three main things that underpin self-image, after you've worked through those, are vision, value, and belief. Those are the three constituent parts of mindset. So we're going to talk about like types of exercise and the best types for specific goals. Okay. So anyone that's watching, quite often people want to do one or two things. As I said at the beginning, they either want to lose body fat or lose weight, or they want to build muscle. Okay. Particularly for like high performing guys, those are usually the two of the things: build muscle or lose weight. There are other sport specific goals, right? I'm not going to go into those at the moment. So look, the types of exercise that you've got are resistance training, which is generally weight training. You've got high intensity interval training, low intensity steady state. And back to the principle of anytime, anywhere, you need to have a flexible program that fits all of these in. Now, if you have certain injuries, lower back, if your doctor hasn't signed you off, you might not be able to do certain resistance training. So a number of my clients have lower back injuries, they have prolapsed discs, they have the beginnings of sciatica. I'm never going to program something that looks at compressing the spine, putting weight through the spine. Right? It's very dangerous. I wouldn't ever want to do that. What I am going to do is start to actually strengthen up their core so that a lot of other compound movements that they look to do, they can actually do that, and it protects the back. One of the things that happen with a lot of people that are sat at desks a lot is there's a muscle right around the stomach. It goes right around the back. It's a bit like a Chinese finger trap, okay? It's called the TVA. Now, because we're sat down a lot of the time, people's TVA gets loose. That's when your sort of stomach hangs out. And what that does, it puts a pressure on your back, right? And think of it as like the two back muscles right at the back that are supporting the spine. They're like two guide ropes on a tent, and the TVA would be the guide ropes at the front. So you have to condition that so that the two guide ropes at the back aren't being overburdened. Think of it as like you can't fire a cannonball from a canoe. If you want to lose weight and you don't have any pre-existing medical conditions, and you've got access to equipment, and you're not traveling, etc., the two best types that I would usually recommend are a combination of heavy resistance training and high intensity interval training, right? Now, this is so nuanced because if you are traveling or you don't have access to a gym, it's like, well, what can you do? I was chatting with another fitness professional earlier today, and one of the things that he was saying is that he actually managed to keep 85, maybe even 90% of his strength by doing body weights at home. Now, you're not going to significantly build muscle doing body weights, but you are able to keep yourself strong, keep yourself fit. So what's the best type of exercise for fat loss? Well, heavy resistance training or high intensity interval training. Or if you've got time, right, which again, a lot of executives or entrepreneurs don't, you're able to do, and if you've got time, right, low intensity steady state is another good form, but it takes that much longer. So really, if you're short on time, the two best types are resistance training or high intensity interval training. Okay. Right. Hopefully you guys are still with me. Right. We're just going to talk. We're going to geek out for a little bit. I'm going to simplify it as much as I can, right, and give you things that you can take away here. But really, I wanted this to be useful. So we're going to have to geek out a little bit. Generally, if you want to lose weight, lose fat, you need to be eating in a calorie deficit. So that means that you need to be consuming less calories than you're burning. If you want to build muscle, it's the opposite. You need to be eating in what we call a calorie surplus. That's consuming more calories than you're burning. And there's a couple of things that we use to work out the science or the energy equations. So the first thing we need to understand is like, what's your total daily energy expenditure? So this is like, if you were sat in front of a TV and not moving at all, how many calories would be needed to perform the functions of digestion, all of the things that happen in the body, all of the other systems that happen in the body, and also power your brain. And that would give you your total daily energy expenditure. Your basic metabolic rate then is if you, sorry, I'm getting confused. I'm confusing myself. Your basic metabolic rate is if you were to sit in front of the TV, right, just fueling digestion, circulatory system, brain function. Your active metabolic rate is how many calories is needed to perform movement, right? Whether that's daily movement, general movement, or specific to going to the gym, running, whatever you're doing, right? AMR plus BMR equals your total daily energy expenditure. So if I'm working out someone's calorie equations for like how much they should be consuming, the first number that I'm looking for is TDEE. I'm then going to work out, do they want to build muscle, in which case I'm going to put 10% on that, or do they want to lose fat, in which case I'm going to take anywhere between 5 up to 25% off that. One of the guys that I really follow and rate in terms of nutrition is a guy called Martin McDonald. And his key principle is go as aggressive as possible when it comes to fat loss so that you can actually get to a point of maintenance as quickly as possible and coach and understand maintenance. So I tend to take my clients through a 25% deficit if they can handle it from an emotional perspective, a stress perspective, and they feel okay doing it. If they can't, we start to ramp up the calories. The results are a little bit slower, but we make sure that it's sustainable. The key things then with energy and energy equations after we've worked out all of that are macronutrients, and there's a little bit of consideration to micronutrients as well, right? Macronutrients, basically put, is your protein, which is the building blocks of muscles, right? Our fats, which are used to like protect all of our cells and in some cases used as a fuel source, and our carbohydrates, right, which is generally the body's preferred form of energy. We want to make sure that all of those are in the right order. Now, most fitness plans will have very regimented macronutrients. They can be very difficult for someone that doesn't understand, or really for that matter, care to follow. So when I help my clients with understanding macronutrients, the first one we're going to look at, and this is almost everyone across the board, the first one we're going to look at is protein. Most people are not consuming enough protein to rebuild muscle in the same way that's needed, or to actually help with satiety, right? So protein is generally a heavier molecule. It tends to keep you fuller for longer, and it can really help with weight loss. So the number one thing that we'll focus on is increasing the amount of protein. After that, we'll look at fats and carbohydrates, and depending on that person's preference, possibly things like their metabolic type, which is how quickly, whether their sort of autonomic nervous system switches on or off, and how quickly they oxidize food, turn it into energy. We'll look at different variations of fats and carbohydrates. But without getting too complicated, just focus on, after you know your calorie equations, like whether you're kind of losing weight or trying to put on muscle, just focus on protein, right? Then comes the conscious consistency that we've talked about before. It's about becoming more aware of what you are eating, trying to make some small micro adjustments, but consistently making them, and then consistently eating to the set amounts that we've got over time. Now, what does that mean if you want to go out on a go out with some mates, go out on a bit of a bender, go for a boozy one on like a Saturday, right? Can you still lose weight? The answer is yes. You just have to put a bit more forethought into it. Let's say you're going out on Saturday and you consume 3,000, or you know you're going to consume about 3,000 calories, and you need to be drinking about 2,000, right, to lose weight. What you're going to do is that extra 1,000 calories, you're going to spread that on the earlier days, right? Monday to Friday, you're going to try and eat 200 calories less. So that when it comes to Saturday and you eat a bit more or drink a bit more, right, you're still able to step on the scales on Monday morning having lost weight. Now, there's a lot of things that play into this, like how much alcohol you're drinking, which can affect the rate of fat loss, for example. But generally, weekly calories, if you're not able to consistently hit a daily target, is a good way to look at balancing energy equations whilst still having a social life. You know, this isn't bodybuilding. This isn't like, we're not athletes here. We're not trying to like eat like a fitness professional, right? This isn't chicken and broccoli in a Tupperware. This is real life. This is real people with real problems trying to achieve specific goals. So when it comes to performance, obviously we spent a fair bit of time talking about the 4 pillars, but when it comes to what I call next level performance, and this is performance in all areas of your life, but particularly showing up in your relationships, the best version that you can, and performing well in your career, whether it's your own business, whether you're working for someone else, it's about 3 things: health and fitness, personal development, learning more about yourself, learning how you tick, becoming more conscious and aware, and then your mindset. Again, the cognitive thought that drives behavior, the motivation to inspiration curve. These 3 things, when you look at them together rather than in isolation, they drive an increase or improvement in your performance. So I just wanted to talk through a couple of like client wins who have actually done this stuff. They've taken the 4 pillars and they've got real life results. Okay, take Alex for example. So Alex actually came on, maybe it was a week, 2 weeks ago, something like that. We've been working together for a little bit longer. Alex has lost 5 stone since we've been working together. He probably struggled cycling 5 kilometers when I first met him. He would be puffed running up the stairs or even walking up the stairs, chasing after his kids, right? The other day, he ran his first ultra marathon, which is anything over a marathon. He ran 50 kilometers. And by employing the 4 pillars of transformation, he's also able to take that out of just fitness through personal development and into his business. His business has now started to double turnover. And we're looking at, over the next 3 years, how he can start to do that again, double turnover again, right? Sam, on Reignite, lost 24 pounds. And again, as a business owner, he took his business from a 6 to a 7-figure business. We started working on through fitness, a number of the things that were actually transferable into business, like confidence, like showing up with belief and presence. We started working on those sort of slightly more intangible things so that we could get a tangible result, which is demonstrated through the revenue that his business was turning over. Danny lost an incredible 14% body fat, and off the back of his transformation, booked a professional model shoot, which he was then able to turn into a career of sorts and get some additional income. Nick lost 21 pounds on Reignite, but also was able to develop the confidence, the mindset, and work on the outer structure to give himself enough. And this is with a young family, right? Very young kids and a stressful corporate job. Start a profitable side hustle in addition, right? All the things that I don't have enough time, I can't do this, I've got a young family, you don't know what it's like. It's like Nick was able to do all of that, right? Through looking at increasing his performance and applying the 4 pillars of transformation. Tarek lost 6% body fat and built significant amounts of muscle. This image is a little bit stretched, but I think you can kind of see, like, particularly on the shoulders, the arms, he built significant amounts of muscle. We did a bit of a build, we did a bit of a cut with him. And what that helped him do was just rediscover the confidence to go dating again. They've been married for a number of years, went through a painful divorce. And one of the things is just his confidence was shot, right? So through health and fitness and then working on his own personal development, his own confidence, his mindset, he was actually able to go dating again and meet with women and feel confident in those situations. So look, I'm going to round up in a second, but maybe you're sat there thinking, yeah, but it won't work for me because I've tried all the diets, the Slim Fast, the Weight Watchers, you know, keto, paleo, insert diet here. That in itself may be the problem. Maybe they worked in the short term. Maybe you even lost like a stone or something. And when you return to normal, all came back on, right? Diets are not the solution. They're not structured enough. They're not systematic enough, and they don't work for the long term. Maybe you're thinking like, look, Alex, this is great information. Like I can do this by myself. Like I don't need any structure or systems. Like, cool. All right. Like hopefully you've got something of value from this and you can take that away and put this into your life. And like, even if it's not the 4 pillars of transformation that you kind of use and think about, like hopefully you're able to take some benefit from this. One of the other reasons I hear is like, I can't do this right now because it's almost like you're the nagging conscience, but I don't have enough time. I've got too much going on. I've got a very busy job, young family, got too many competing priorities. All of these guys that I've just gone through, they all have young families, right? They all have stressful jobs. Through looking at your performance, getting accountability and focusing on health and fitness, personal development, and your mindset, they're able to improve all of those areas, right? So that, and this is one of the things I say to my clients when they first join, it's like, you know, if you're bullshitting yourself, can I call you out on that? You just go, yeah. It's like, I don't have enough time. It's a bullshit excuse. It's just not true. It's not generally true. Right? Some people it's probably true.